It's absolutely wild to see. I was hoping this would end during the campaign. I figured the NDP would sort of launch their attacks, lose their minds, and then, well, that strategy didn't work. Let's move on and try and be a little more constructive and practical. No, that's not the case. Smith pledges arson investigation into 175 wildfires with
Good.
no known cause. Yeah, this is pretty much, I could read here, but it basically boils down to them hiring an arson investigator from outside the province following an unseasonably and early destructive wildfire season. This is the most non contentious, self evident, reasonable thing that anyone could ever do. If you have a problem with this, you're an unhinged lunatic. Cue the NDP. They've numerous outlets, actually. CTV went off about how Alberta
Yeah.
Premier is downplaying the links between wildfires and climate change. And then Nagwan El Ghanid, the newly barely elected. I think what's the recount at now? It's still less than 100 or 100
Yeah,
something.
it's
She
25 or
defeated
something.
Yeah, she defeated Whitney Issik. And so she says on Twitter here, step one in problem solving is defining the problem. Climate change is the challenge we need to solve here, but circulating arson social media conspiracy isn't going to address climate or wildfires. The world is the world is in the climate mitigation and building resiliency phase. Let's get to work. So she's like, they ask her, is this from climate change? She doesn't say no. She's like, well, it was an unseasonably high situation. There are a bunch of reports of arson out there. Let's get to the bottom of this and figure out what's actually happening here. And they're accusing her of peddling conspiracy theories, saying that this is climate change is a conspiracy theory, saying we're going to hire investigators to figure it out is rational sensibility.
I just imagine being the arsonist and and getting charged and going to court and then telling the judge, "Oh no, Your Honor, Justin Trudeau and literally every progressive in the country said it could not have been me and my
Yeah.
matches and my gasoline. It was actually climate change. It was the climate
Yeah.
gods. Sheila's SUV made them angry, and so
Mhm.
fires started." Yeah, you're right. To say that this is climate change and not arson is the real conspiracy theory here. To say that my SUV somehow did so much damage to the weather, it told the climate gods not to have it rain in April and May, and to even go back further, we didn't have a big snowpack. My SUV did that, not the guy with the matches, or not the guy, throwing his cigarette butt out the window. It wasn't that guy. It was all those other things that had to happen for these fires to burn. Are these
Yeah,
people
it's wild.
insane? And you know what? I really yesterday I did American media hits all day long because they're looking for someone who's
Mhm.
not crazy to talk about the fires. And, being from Alberta and northern Alberta, and then this year so close to where the fires were, I can speak to this with a level of experience, maybe not expertise, but it's fascinating to see people now rediscovering the cycles of nature, right? Like, you're from Alberta, I'm from Alberta. We get smoke plumes every single year almost,
Yeah.
especially where I am, because I live like right where the grasslands crashes into the boreal, which is another point. We're 1/3 forested by the boreal, which is like the world's largest continuous forest. So of course we're gonna have forest fires, but we have smoke plumes in that like orange apocalyptic sky every year, maybe
Yeah.
every other year, couple of times a year. We get it from BC, we get it from northern Alberta, we can get it from grass fires from the south. It's not unusual for us. The only reason the environmentalists seem to care right now is because the smoke plume now is coming from the east and it's ending up over one of the most populous regions in North America. So it's frightening to the people who are so out of touch with nature because they haven't been off concrete in 10 years. So they forget that nature exists. And those of us who live within it, this is just spring, right? Like, this is just spring. Sometimes you get floods, sometimes you get fires, but that's what it's like when you live within nature. People who live outside of nature are just experiencing it for the first time in a very, very long time. And it's very scary for them.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely a disconnect for folks who, I mean, I live in the city, but I get out enough. I experience it. We're just on
Yeah.
the outskirts of town here. So, like, they don't really get that, and within nature there's cycles of destruction, rebirth. It's normal. When those cycles clash with your square concrete buildings within the city, we're getting a little bit into romantic poetry here, but there's it can be jarring, but this is normal life. And I think there's also a bit of sort of selective memory. People are like, I don't remember there being fires before. It's like, well, there was. Now, in people's defense, this year has been bad, and that's why the premier, sanely enough, is saying, well, we should look into this. Even in Calgary, in the last couple of days, there's been fires, and one of them, they caught an arsonist almost immediately. So
Yeah,
there are cases of arson taking place. This is also factual. So is there more than usual? Very, very probable. It's been hot, it's been dry.
maybe. Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe. But statistics show that, oh, and this, like, this is it, Natural Resources Canada data shows that there are actually fewer forest fires burning fewer hectares of forest over the
Mm,
course of the last 10 or so years. So the fires are
yeah.
not getting worse. You people are just noticing them down east. That's the
Yeah.
problem. We always have them. They're not as bad as they have been in the past. You're just noticing them now because the smoke is
Yeah.
bothering you.
Well, and there's also the fact that very often, if there's fires during an election cycle, it becomes a point of contention and they draw more attention to it, especially with the NDP's negative style attack ad. The fact that they defunded a bunch of stuff, but didn't want to talk about that, and then talked about the one sort of elite repelling crew. They really wanted to make this seem like a negative failure. Which is not great. I mean, you saw quite the opposite with Brian Jean during the fires up north. How everyone came together and they were collaborating. So not great to see. One thing I did want to touch on, and this is actually someone I've known for a
Yeah.
long time. He does a lot of storm chasing. Kyle Bretan, but he's a weather guy, storm chaser, a
Mm,
bit of an expert. Whenever there's one of these stories, I kind of send him a message to get a bit of perspective on it. And there's been a video on social media sort of circulating of a bunch of fires erupting at once, and everyone's like, "Oh, clearly these are set by people." I believe it's the Quebec fires.
yeah.
One, people probably couldn't set those fires in that sort of unison quite as fast. So very, very clearly, what's happening here is a storm front goes over, lightning strikes in the ground. Just because like hundreds of people have asked me what is actually happening here, and it can start deep root fires or small fires that don't show up on satellite. That storm then passes through. You can see it moving down to the right. He's even provided a link so you can watch like the storm move through on satellite. And then after those high lightning strikes hit within that community and clear out, you see smoke start to emerge. So just for folks out there, I know there might be like a rush to sort of some confirmation bias, and you want to see, oh look, this is a unified setting thing. This is very, very normal. This is what you would expect to see. And I've known this guy for probably 15, 20 years. So we
Yeah.
had an off the record sort of chat about this, and then he went public and sort of put out this statement. So yeah, do check out these resources. They are available. You can check out um, fire sources, causes of fires, which ones are known, which ones are unknown, current status on fires, potential causes, storm patterns that have gone through the area. So the information is very much out there, and most of what we're seeing now pretty standardized, except the Alberta fires were a little bit bizarre in how early they are and where they were. So I think that once again, very rational to suggest hiring an investigator to take a look. Let's touch really quickly. We're on this sort of climate fire front on this Greta Thunberg thing, and then we will. Well, I think we're a little bit overdue for an ad break, unless you had something else on the fire front.
No, I didn't really. I just think that like to suggest that the environmentalists are that organized. The environmentalists, remember, are largely urbanites. They're not people with
Mm,
survival skills. They're not going to go out in the middle of the bush, set their alarm clocks or their watches to the exact same time or within how a storm rolls through, and then start lighting fires. I just don't think they're that smart, organized, or have that many survivalist skills like
mhm.
starting a fire to stay alive. I just don't think that they can do that.
Yeah. When you see like a fire set not too far from a town, within relatively close proximity to a church, and the church is damaged, probably be suspicious. Complete middle of nowhere in a forest, right after a lightning storm, probably from the lightning storm. But who
Yeah.
knows? Maybe we could be wrong.
That's a clip from something we call Rebel News Daily. It's our daily live stream hosted by my friend David Menzies, but the show also includes a rotating cast of hosts and special guests, including me. It's a great way for us to talk about the news of the day as the news is happening in an unscripted fashion, and it's an awesome way for you to interact with us as well. We stream every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Mountain, wherever you find Rebel News. See you there.